And we don't want this case to be another Senzomiwa case or to be the Omotoso case, cases which won't on forever. It will not happen in these proceedings. So we need to finish this case. I think the public and the nation are becoming weary of this case. Resources are being plowed into this case. But let me be very clear. This is not going to be a never-ending process.
Hold the position of Judge President in the Division of the Eastern Cape, is that correct?
Correct.
And as the Judge President, you are the administrative head of the division and are expected to lead by example. Is that correct?
Live by example.
Lead.
Lead by example.
Yes.
Yes.
Would you agree that part of your duty as a leader is to foster a safe, respectful, and professional environment for all court personnel?
Correct.
As Judge President, if any judge in your division had engaged in conduct alleged to be sexually inappropriate with a junior staff member, you would treat such a matter with the utmost seriousness. Is that correct?
If any member of the judiciary were
Yes.
to be alleged to have done what?
Alleged to be sexually inappropriate with a junior staff member.
Sexually inappropriate.
Yes.
It is incumbent on members of the judiciary in terms of the judicial code of conduct to deal with unbecoming conduct on the part of colleagues and possibly to take it up.
So would you have dealt with it?
I would. Any inappropriate conduct by a judge.
And as Judge President, you are expected to provide effective leadership to the division, is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
You also agree that your conduct inside and outside the courtroom must reflect the highest ethical and professional standards?
My conduct.
Yes, your conduct inside and outside the courtroom.
Yes.
You also agree that you are bound by the Code of Judicial Conduct and must uphold it in your official and personal conduct?
Correct.
Then you are also aware that Article 5 of the Code requires judges to act honorably and in a manner befitting judicial office at all times?
I'm aware of that, and I'm aware of that clause that you are reading. I'm also aware of the fact that at the commencement of these proceedings, you referred to it, and I'm also aware of the fact that that which you are reading, which is 5.1, has got nothing to do with these proceedings as far as I'm concerned.
Article 7 demands that a judge must dissociate from sexist conduct and must respect the dignity of others, correct?
Yes.
Now, let's look at your status as Judge President of the Eastern Cape Division.
Sure.
Would you agree that the Judge President has significant authority over both judicial officers and support staff in his division?
Correct. You say I've got judicial authority.
No, significant authority. Significant authority.
Significant authority.
Yes.
Can you unpack that, please, for me? Because
You have authority over people.
I've got authority over people.
Yes. Because of your status as Judge President.
I think we need to unpack it a bit. I am not going to shy away from the fact that I am the top judge in the Eastern Cape Division. And we need to contextualize the question.
All right.
I am not a supervisor of administrative staff.
No, I didn't say you are a supervisor, but you are in charge of the entire division. Is that
True,
correct?
yes.
And you present the division at the heads of court.
Correct.
And you are accountable to the Chief Justice for the division.
True.
So you have the authority.
I'm accountable to the division. I'm accountable to South Africa.
All right.
I'm accountable to litigants.
Would you also agree that the public expects you to uphold the dignity of the judiciary at all times?
Correct.
And would you agree with me that the way in which a judge president conducts himself and the way he is perceived by the profession and by the public has a direct impact on the way that the judiciary is regarded?
You mean what they see?
Yes.
Absolutely correct.
Ms. Menga was never appointed as your secretary, is that correct?
Yes, that is the position.
In fact, she testified that she was never a secretary to any judge president at all. She may have provided assistance from time to time.
So be it.
You cannot dispute that.
No.
In fact, Ms. Menga also testified that under the leadership of your predecessor, the late Judge President Sangoni, she only engaged with him in person when required to perform duties. There were no other after-hour phone calls or WhatsApp messages exchanged.
I hear that.
You cannot dispute that.
No.
Then on Monday, yesterday, when you started your evidence in chief, you told this panel that you had an interest in Ms. Menga.
Yes.
When did this interest start?
After speaking to her on the day I had visited Judge Robertson's chambers, after I had spoken to her, and when we had a chat in the evening.
So did the interest already start in her office?
When I was interacting with her, and then we spoke much later on that day.
But I want to unpack this. When did your interest start with her? Was it in the office or only during the WhatsApp chats?
It started to begin with when we were talking, and then specifically later that night.
What sparked your interest?
What sparked my interest?
Yes.
I was just attracted to her mannerism and how she spoke and how she held herself
Was this the first time that you interacted with her?
directly, besides meeting her in the passageways and greeting her, and also sometimes talking in passing or talking with secretaries when I greet them in their offices. That is when I'm seeing their judges rather.
So why did you not have interest in her previously when you interacted with her? Why specifically this day?
I don't follow the question. The matter of how a spark starts when you are attracted to somebody is not mechanical, it's natural.
So it just happened.
Yeah.
Okay. You then clarified and said that this was more of a flirtatious relationship and not a romantic relationship. Is that correct?
In totality, that's what it ends up being. And it's got its ebbs and flows in terms of how deep we sometimes engaged in. But in total, it is a flirtatious relationship.
In total. So what did you then exactly want from the complainant?
What did I want?
Yes.
I wanted to explore the possibility of a romantic relationship, which started off by way of flirtation.
All right. And you have had many flirtatious relationships before. This is not your first flirtatious relationship. Is that correct?
I won't answer that question. It's not relevant.
All right. So when you initiate a flirtatious relationship with any person, do you generally ask for naked pictures of that person in your first conversation you have with that person?
Firstly, your question is predicated on an allegation that when you do this with other people, I would restrain you from doing that. I would appeal to you that we deal with the facts of this matter. And therefore, could you please rephrase your question?
Why did you ask for naked pictures on the first
I did
time?
not ask for naked pictures.
You did.
I did not. Put it this way, at no stage did I ever ask for naked pictures.
We will unpack that from tomorrow.
Thank you.
You've told us that you are a formal person.
What?
A formal person, and that you value tradition.
I value what?
Tradition and culture.
Yes, sure.
And you've explained to us how courting happens in the Xhosa culture.
Yes, as far as I know it.
And you've told this panel that what we've seen in these WhatsApp messages are reflective of courting in your culture.
I think the statement that you are putting to me is too broad.
That is what you testified.
No, I'm just saying the statement that you are putting is broader than what I said. I am not going to shy away from the statement or your postulation. And can you please repeat it so that I can deal with it pertinently?
You say that courting that happens in the Xhosa culture is
Yes.
what we see in these WhatsApp messages.
I'm basically saying flirtation is flirtation. And flirtation is what it is what it means. And therefore, I'm saying it is not incompatible with the Xhosa culture.
No, that's not what you
No,
testified
I'm saying it is
yesterday.
not incompatible with the Xhosa culture. In other words, this notion about me saying we are here dealing with Xhosa custom, we should disabuse our minds of that. I'm simply saying Xhosa custom does know or is a culture of negotiation, if I may unpack it. So flirtation and persistence should be understood within the context of negotiation. So in the Xhosa culture, negotiation is at the center of it. So I'm simply saying flirtation is not inconsistent with the Xhosa culture. And I had to infuse Xhosa culture in areas where I thought it was important for me to mention. So the notion that Mbenenge's defense is that what was happening, it was the implementation of Xhosa custom, is a wrong premise. In the Xhosa custom, there's negotiation. This thing about somebody having to earn it is known by that custom, and persistence should be understood in the context of negotiation. The custom and tradition of Xhosas has at its center negotiation.
But according to me, negotiation comes from both sides. A negotiation cannot come only from one side. You also understand it like that.
I do understand from that, I do understand your statement, the way in which you are putting it.
Was there negotiations from both sides here?
Absolutely, yes.
So in these WhatsApps, you say that you were trying to court Ms. Mengo.
Eventually. If that would eventually, if the flirtatious charts would then end up eventuating in that direction, yes.
Did you ask her out for dinner?
No,
Did you buy her gifts?
no.
Instead, what we see in the WhatsApps are that within 30 minutes of you starting the conversation on that first day,
Yes.
8 June 2021, at 19:27, you asked us to send photographs.
Yes. But there's a context. But
What is
yes.
the context?
No, the context is, please look at me, consider me, and tell yourself what it is that exactly you want of me or from me. So that's how the thing starts.
I don't follow your answer.
Can I please refer you to what I'm talking about?
Yes, please.
Let's go to volume 3.
Yes.
If you can be patient with me, please.
I will.
So let's go to page 1161. Evidence leader. Sorry, ma'am. Could we go to page 1161? 1913, I maintain myself well, exercise keeps me younger, keep it that way. Then she winks, and then Nzaukendi, and then page 1162, further down, I say, how would you prove? And that related to age. Then the answer, 1162 at 1921, nguwe ofuna ukuyijonga, my part would be giving you a task. You are the one who wants to show, you are the one who wants to consider my age. My part would be to giving you a task. I can defer to superior wisdom.
Nguwe ofuna ukuyijonga.
Nguwe ofuna ukuyijonga.
You are the one who is requesting to have a look at it.
My part would be giving you a task. Then that's English. And then at page 1163, at 1924, I want to give you a chance for you uba uyijonge.
1163, the last part for you, ukuba uyijonge. When we complete the sentence, I want to give you a chance for you to have a look at it.
Yes. And then below that, immediately at 1924, within a minute, then you determine what you are looking for. What you are looking for in me. That is my answer, Counsel.
But you did ask for a picture.
And then further down, I then say, maybe a few pictures you send may serve as halfway proof. So in that context, I did ask for pictures at 1164, 1927. And then at 1165, at 2023, I say, if it won't offend, and then that attracts a wink from the complainant.
I put it to you that this is not a respectful way to engage with a person that you are courting on the first day that you are talking on WhatsApp.
Is that so?
I put it to you.
I don't agree with that postulation. Because the reason why I don't agree with it is that it is subjective. You probably are saying, and sorry, it may sound personal, what you would like to see happening in your case when somebody is approaching or advancing at you. So that's why I disagree with you. The matter of how one approaches one is it's too mechanical to say you start off by going out for dinner and so on.
But
Yes,
you-
in the Western context, maybe.
You didn't ask Ms. Mbenenge what her preference was,
What
how
her pre-
she would like to be courted.
No, I did not have to.
Why not?
You don't ask somebody how they want to be courted. You just negotiate. The matter of how a man proposes a woman has no stipulated approach.
But
You
there
do
are
anything that wants you to engage somebody to see her interest in you, possibly, and to indicate your interest in them.
That is a very profound statement you might make. You do anything.
No, I'm just saying, when I say you do anything, I will appeal to you not to blow it out of proportion. I am saying, when you propose, there is no book that you go to that tells you that, you know what, in biology, you do A, B, C, D, E. It is a matter of the heart and the brain and how you express yourself. For instance, when I say, if it won't offend, I was quite mindful of the fact that I don't want to engage somebody in a chat only to find that they will be offended.
She is a secretary in your division.
Correct?
Surely you must exercise caution.
True. Hence, I say, if it won't offend, among others. That's not the only time when I had to check whether she is with me in what we were conversing about.
I will unpack the WhatsApps later on. I will come to that.
Thank you.
You So can we take it that you assumed that there was consent?
At which point?
You can tell us. At which
Please.
point do you say that there was consent?
When I answer the question from the perspective that if you look at the entire interaction, I would say there was consent. And I'm answering in that fashion because when I called upon you to unpack your question, you chose to pose it the way you did. So I'm basically saying there was consent at all material points in time. And in its conspectus, in the final analysis, when you look at everything that happened, you are bound to conclude, as she did when she was cross-examined, which is that any reasonable person would believe that you were playing along. And the answer was ewe, EWE, which means yes.
I put it to you, you assumed consent from the start. You did not have all the WhatsApp conversations already that first day. So you could not look at all the evidence.
No. Counsel, what I'm doing is, in answer to your question, I wanted to know from you, are you talking about consent on a particular day or consent, and you said generally. And I'm saying, if you look at the charts as we see now, with the benefit of what we have in front of us, I am saying the charts were wanted. They were not unwanted. And also I'm saying, specifically in relation to the very first day when we interacted, based on what I see here, based on my answering affidavit before the JCC, my answer is I don't agree with you in your proposition. For instance, I say if it won't offend, and there are so many other times when I interact with her and check whether, they say in English, to test the room, just to see whether we are still on par with one another. And that is why she eventually shared her picture on that day, on that night.
But if we now look at all the evidence we have, there's a sexual harassment complaint. So surely there was no consent.
No, that's a presumption. It is not correct. And also, I will urge you, when you put such propositions, to say, based on this version and that version and whichever else version, then you can put your proposition. But I disagree with you. The notion that you are coming up with is the notion that you are presumed guilty until you prove yourself innocent. The fact that somebody does lay a complaint, regardless of whether the complaint is legitimate, is valid, is truthful, is based on the truth, is paramount. So I am not going to accept a proposition which I believe is not correct, that kungamangalwa ithetha into okokuba lo mntu umangalelwayo uyenzile loo nto.
The translation of what the JP just uttered now. Once there's a complaint or a complaint is laid, that means then that the accused
Is presumed guilty until proven innocent.
Okay, the JP finished it in English as I was about to.
So I'm not agreeing with your proposition, which is that by virtue thereof that a complaint has been lodged, it means there was no consent. That is a matter to be determined by the tribunal. One of the issues is whether the charts were wanted or unwanted, and that is why we are here. And I submit, my answer is that the charts were not unwanted.
You know what the definition of courting is?
As I understand, courting is a relationship where people consider the possibility of being partners in due course, even on a permanent basis. That's in broad terms what courting is about.
Yes, that is indeed correct. To have a romantic relationship with someone in the hope of marrying someone or
True.
have a close relationship
Yes.
with that person.
Correct.
In fact, unfortunately, in this instance, you are already a married man
What has that
Did-
to do with these proceedings, ma'am?
who did not want a serious relationship with Ms. Mengo. You wanted a sexual relationship with her.
Evidence leader, I urge you and I appeal to you that you don't pose questions to me that are not relevant to the issue at hand.
I will pose to you that you don't have to lecture me.
I am not lecturing you. Sorry for that.
I'm putting the questions to you.
Come again?
I'm putting the versions and the questions to you. You can answer yes or no, or just give an answer.
Not all questions call for yes or no. I think we should be on par on that. You are asking me about my marital status, and I'm urging you to keep away from that.
That was not the only part of the question.
Can you
wanted
please-
a sexual relationship with Ms. Mengo.
Come
You
again?
didn't want a romantic relationship with her because you're already married. You wanted a sexual relationship with her.
No. Please don't overload your question with 3 questions. Let's start from the beginning. The first component of your question presupposes that it's based on the fact that I am a married person. And in fact, what you are engaging me on is whether you are married or not. Is that not the position? And if that is the position, evidence leader, I am saying it is not relevant for purposes of what we are about here.
It is relevant because you're already in a relationship, but now you're seeking another relationship with a complainant which she says is unwanted.
No, you are predicating your proposition on the fact that by virtue of the fact that somebody is married, they are precluded from doing something. And I'm saying, let's not talk about my marital status. Let's concern ourselves with my interaction with Ms. Mango. Because now you are seeking to make a moral issue and you are not going to come up with a moral code that I will have to deal with, or even a universal moral code. So what I'm urging you, evidence leader, is not to pose a question about my marital status. Your question is predicated on this. JP, are you married? And my immediate answer is that is irrelevant.
You wanted a sexual relationship with Ms. Mengo?
I wanted a flirtatious relationship with a view to eventually having a romantic relationship with her if that worked out.
You will agree with me that sexual interaction in any workplace is heavily regulated through labor processes.
Can you unpack that, please?
There are labor processes in place, there are internal workplace processes in place, and the code of sexual harassment is in place. So sexual relationships in the workplace is frowned upon.
What has a judge to do with a workplace? If you can help me, I'll tell you why I'm asking you this question. You are talking about labor laws that apply to employers and employees. Judges are public office bearers. They are not members of the executive arm. They are part of the judiciary. That's what they are. And the reason why I'm stating that is that you are moving from the premise that there's a code that I should have given heed to. And I will welcome it if you pinpoint a particular provision that you say this and that you did not observe.
The code
Then
of
we can deal with that.
judicial conduct.
Come again?
The code of judicial conduct.
Insofar as it says what?
Excuse me, do you say
No,
that
I'm
judges
asking.
can commit sexual harassment and nothing can happen to them? Is
Your
that what you are
statement
now
is
saying?
pregnant with meaning.
She's not saying, she's not admitting to sexual harassment.
Yes.
I'm not saying he's admitting to sexual harassment.
But why do you say, are you saying that judges can commit sexual harassment?
Because
That is
that
in
was my
dispute.
question.
Reframe your question properly. Don't start from the assumption that there is already established sexual harassment
I've
before
never
us.
said there was any establishment of sexual harassment, Chair.
Well, then you have to rephrase your
I
question.
will rephrase it. Do you say that there's nothing regulating your conduct as a judicial officer.
There is.
And does that not also have an effect on sexual relationships at your office, at your workplace?
We don't have a sexual harassment policy, particularly.
I
That
agree
is
to
the
that.
starting point. We don't have that. And I don't understand you to be saying there is a particular code. I've not been told up to this point, certainly not in terms of how I've been charged, that there was a breach of a particular provision. I keep on hearing that from you every time you talk, you say something that I've never been informed of, a case that I've never been called upon to meet. So could you please rephrase your question so that I understand exactly what it is?
Do you agree with me that sexual interactions in the workplace are frowned upon?
Can you read me that particular provision?
It's not a provision, it's frowned upon.
No, I'm saying, can you read that particular provision that you are referring to?
I'm not referring to
You are
any
not referring to
provision.
anything.
No,
You are simply suggesting that it is frowned upon.
yes.
I would say what is frowned upon is the type of interaction or sexual, shall I say, a flirtatious conduct that is unwanted. Yes, it is frowned. It should be frowned upon.
Thank you.
So the point I'm making is any unbecoming conduct, it will be unbecoming conduct for anyone, a judge for that matter, or anyone else to harass another person, and vice versa, a female to harass a male. You see, the reason why I addressed you initially in the fashion I did, you said something about workplace and then the Labor Relations Act and all that. But I had to explain to you that I'm neither an employee nor an employer.
We agree with that.
Thank you.
Do you still maintain that this flirty interactions between you and the complainant, as you put it, was appropriate to occur in the workplace between the most senior person in that division and one of the most junior staff members?
Evidence leader, you have asked a question that has got various components. Let me find a way of answering this. Any judge, any person, anywhere for that matter, is behaving appropriately if they harass others. Then I'm talking about an inappropriate conduct. But when people flirt with one another and the flirtation is not unwanted, I do not believe that there is anything that one may say is it should be frowned upon, because I'm going to ask you in terms of what?
You said now that you are neither an employer or an employee. So I want to put it to you that it is not about whether or not you are an employer, a manager, a supervisor, or anything. You are the judge president
Very
of
true.
that division,
Very
and
true.
she is a secretary
Yes,
that works in courts.
yes.
You are the most powerful person in that court.
What do you mean by powerful?
Don't you see yourself as the person with the most authority in that division?
Let me remind you, if we talk about the issue of power, it shifts, especially in the context of what we are talking about. So at an abstract level, let's start with what the first proposition you made. And I want to rectify something. Insofar as you sought to refer to the Labor Relations Act, it is to that extent that I said to you, I am not an employee, because the Labor Relations Act applies to employers and employees. So it is within that context that I answered the way I did. And then the second proposition about power and authority, yes and no. I'll tell you why I say yes and no. In this flirtatious relationship, I never invoked what you perceive as power on the facts of this interaction.
I'm not talking about the WhatsApp relationships. I'm talking about at the workplace, you are the most powerful person in that division. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. In your evidence, you also said that many judges have had relationship with their secretaries. In fact, some of them have married their secretaries.
Could you please put it the way I did?
Put
All I
it the
was
way you
saying, all I was saying, I was simply saying there are judges that have married their secretaries. They would have started somewhere, either flirtation or whatever else, and then it would have gravitated to them becoming a couple married in the true sense. Please, if possible, save me from mentioning names.
I don't want you to mention names.
Thank you.
You testified about that.
Yes.
So we need to unpack this. We don't know what the circumstances was that
No, we
surrounded their
don't. Yes.
relationships. This case is different than those.
How so? So you know there are. Is it the position that you know there are? Because I need to move from the premise that we are on par on that subject.
Are you now asking the questions to me?
Not necessarily asking questions, I am seeking clarity. Are we moving from the premise that you accept that it has previously happened?
This tribunal does not have any evidence before it about the circumstances of those relationships. Is that correct?
Evidence leader, it was merely a postulation in passing for me to mention that this thing that is looked upon as very taboo, for that matter, this is pure flirtation. You must remember that there are judges that have married their secretaries. That's all I was saying.
But
Without suggesting that I know how they eventually got to be married. I have no idea.
I want to put it to you that this case is different because in this case, the complainant do not agree that there was consent. It was not a consensual relationship.
You keep on coming with a presumption, evidence leader, and I don't believe that is correct of you to do so. This notion that once sexual harassment is mentioned, then surely one must have committed it. This is an allegation. I am here to refute or rebut that allegation. So the fact that the complainant says, well, I want to lodge a complaint because as far as I'm concerned, the chats were unwanted, that is a matter for determination by the tribunal. That is why we are here. That is why the charge sheet has been couched the way it is.
Chair, if this is a convenient time, I see it's now only 5 o'clock, but I'm going to go into the specific WhatsApps, and it has been a long day. I don't know if you will give me the leniency to adjourn until tomorrow. We can start at 9 as suggested in chambers earlier this morning, or earlier today. I foresee that we will be able to finish in the 2 days that we have left.
Excuse me. Let me make this point. We had indicated that we would sit until 6 o'clock because we need to finish the evidence in this case. And I insisted that we are going to proceed. The cross-examination must start today, and if need be, we're going to sit until 6 o'clock because we need to finish this case. I think the public and the nation are becoming weary of this case. Resources are being plowed into this case, and we don't want this case to be another Senzomuyiwa case or to be the Omotoso case, cases which won't run forever. It will not happen in these proceedings. If need be, we'll sit until 10 o'clock every single day in the evening. I'm reluctantly, very reluctantly, acceding to a request for us to stop now at 5:15 when we had said that we'll sit until 6 o'clock. I'm doing that very reluctantly. But let me be very clear. This is not going to be a never-ending process. If need be, from tomorrow we'll sit until 10 o'clock. We adjourn until tomorrow, 9 o'clock.